Hey, all right, YouTube. All right, we got a little project today to stay away from the craziness in the house. I have a nice piece of stainless steel. Stainless, people, not stain-free. But this is a consist check plate off a rail car. It's got a nice edge on it. It just needs to be polished. I mean, you never let that get you down. You can always micro mesh that and polish her out. So we also have a nice piece of cedar. All right. Okay, that's going to be the base. And then years ago, I made some templates. These are magnetic templates. Obviously, they don't work on stainless steel. But this is for a forever rose. Okay. Now, usually, what I do is I punch the rose hole first so I don't catch it on the drill. For the petals, let me get you a better example. I like to throw a small relief and kind of try to match what the radius is going to be. Because when you bend these and whatnot, if you leave a hard relief in there, just a V cut, you'll end up with cracks. So I cut a small relief with a drill. What I usually do is I lay them out and then use the size drill that's going to be appropriate for the rose petal hole. You see there's two different size drills. And then because I forgot to punch them out originally, I got the old machinist block. I line it up over there and pop her through. Okay. Now, I usually use a piece of welding rod when I start this, and you'll see my workaround on that is just a piece of steel, straight steel. All right. So I'm going to stop the video now. Next time you'll see me, I'll hopefully have this started to build up. It's been years since I built one, so I've kind of forgot the nuances, the, hey, do this first, the do that dummy. And what I did on these is I marked them so I know if I screw one up, what side it is. And I'm going to try to get her together. And then let's say it's a number 5, or this one just happens to be a number 3 because of my template. Let's say I screw up the number 3. I can always cut another one out real quick. So, hopefully you learn from my mistakes, because I forgot how to do this, like I said. And we'll stop the video now, and we'll see you in a few minutes. All right. Now, the next part of it, as you see, I got them laid out, so you can all see, is I stick them on my anvil. You don't need an anvil, but it helps. I give the outsides, come on, focus, a little bit of texture. There we go. A little bit of texture with a peen hammer. Okay. And I use my anvil, but you don't need to use an anvil, but it helps. And then, I cup them out with the ball peen hammer. And this is usually what I get with the ball peen hammer. So everything seems about normal. Then I get a stump. And I like to do this on the steps of my porch because it's comfortable. I grind out just a little. I'd say that's probably less than a ½ inch with a grinder. And then I'll sit here. And I got one hammer, don't goof on my hammer, that has a decent radius to it. And I hold the piece like so along the hollow. Then I just tap up and down the hollow, holding it like so, and spinning it, and holding it like so, and spinning it, until it gets a harder peen. I'm not too done with this one, but I wanted to show you all that if you do it in order, it should be one pedal under, one pedal over. Now see how this one, it looks like it's going to be screwed up. Okay. Yeah, I can leave it like that. It's going to be a little bit more tedious work towards the end, but I will probably straighten that out so they're one pedal under, one pedal over, like so. Alright, see you in a few minutes. Alright, so maybe I'm about, I'd say maybe 1/2 inch, 3/4 in. Just a little bit tighter in with the old grinder. And these are the only two tools I've used. A pair of pliers, a pair of duck bills, or a pair of needle nose. You can use them at this point. But basically, this is what you want. Remember how we had the big flat one? I've got them laid out so you can see. So, you want them to cup into each other. Alright, and it doesn't have to be perfect, because I'm going to show you how to fix that in a second. Alright. So, you want them to cup into each other. Now, it doesn't need to be perfect. You can use a pair of pliers at this point. Okay? Or you can make the ultimate commitment and grab drift and kind of throw them all together. But the problem with that is when you get an imperfection like so, you're going to throw it to the outside, and you want them tight enough where you can get maybe like this, where you can get a pair of pliers in there, a pair of needle nose, because we need to turn these down. Try to get as much at this point. Try to get as much of your detail work done as possible. Don't be afraid to use a pair of pliers or whatnot, but you know how roses will curl up on the end of the pedal? We can do that with a pair of pliers and some heat, or we can go in like this, okay, and use the stump door avail. The problem with that being is it's not hard to undo it, but when you have imperfections in any type of anvil, it's going to show through your work. That's why you try to get your face of your anvil as straight and possible, and no dents, dings, and whatnot. And that's why a lot of times if you take a blacksmithing class, you will have a learner's anvil, and the master will have his own anvil. And if you notice, his anvil is perfect because he wants it perfect, and his hammers are perfect. They're not all dented and dinged and screwed up, because he knows when he hits something with a hammer that whatever imperfections in the end of his hammer is going to come out through his work. Now, when you work with this, try to figure out a radius. And I like to use remember we were talking about where I drilled to make them? I have an imaginary radius in here. Okay? So what I do is, alright, well, the next step, and before I get to this step, I'm going to tell you a couple tricks. This inside set of leaves, okay, you want them all to nest into each other, okay, and when you work it towards the base of each bend. Try to bend those pieces up by working in the base. Then I'll use a socket. Sometimes they get stuck in there, you just pop them out with a drift. For the inner pedals, a pair of vice grips. And the inner pedals, you heat them up, get them to form. And then these I will bring out to give that rose leaf impression. I'll use the old oxyacetylene with the smallest tip I got, but you can use MAP gas, and I braise them on the stick, which is just a piece of, I used to use welding rod, but I had this handy. And that's it so far. Well, that's that. Put her in a nice little chunk of wood there. Got a nice piece of cedar. Forgot to show you how to do the leaf. But, oh well. We'll get to that. They're easy to make. And that's it. I like to leave the natural patina. But that's just me.